problem of the host. We be having technical issues with the cameraman. He in here with a Wizards leather hat on. Don't like it at all. No sirree.
Yeah, the man coming this drink was nice.
So we got one coming for you. Yeah. You can give me a little go-go. You give me a little go-go though. You give me a little go-go. We don't discriminate against rap, but right now we in the city. And that's what we do, baby.
Okay. Now open your mind up and listen to me, Kendrick. I'm in your conscious and you
So
like
do
me.
it on the chat.
I'm gonna call you soon as I finish the show.
All right. Well, we get ready to get this thing going. That's what's happening. We're gonna let this rock for about 10-15 seconds. Yeah.
He had his CMOS today.
Man, hey, winding me up, baby. Okay, y'all, we're gonna go and get this thing down. You don't wanna hear it? We're gonna get this thing going. Again, welcome to another edition of the Men's Corner, brought to you by Men's Corner and streamed via Men's Corner on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I am your co-host, Faheem, alongside with my host here, Big Six. Again, the Men's Corner, as always, is produced by BeeSting Media and powered by DJ Glam. Site location sponsored by Reality Based Training Group, located 8181 Professional Place, Hyattsville, Maryland. You can call RBTG at 240-714-3813 for your armed and unarmed security training needs in DC. Today's special guest, man, you can just look at him and know who he is, but for those that don't know, we got our main Apple Scrabble here, the incomparable Ronald Moten, one of DC's finest activists, legislators, man, every community legislator, political legislator, anything you want to do, baby, when it comes to the hood, the community, involvement and things of that nature, he's been there and done it. Hell of a dossier with him. Six, go ahead and bring him on there. Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Ronald Moten. First of all, I gotta give a prayer for the young man Jaleel that was shot by his daddy fighting for his life. I got to throw that out there for my young king.
Yeah.
My man Rock, he lost his wife today. I got to throw that out there. My man Tony Lee, hands up,
Tony
man.
Lee.
Praise up to Tony Lee, man. And we gotta throw it out there for them good people, man. But now we're going to dive in and we're gonna let Mo burn these mics up, cause I've been hearing him. Whoa! He been on it. He been on it like a hornet.
Yeah.
Ward 7, brother. Been born and raised in this city. I done seen him do it all. I try to mimic the brother. I can't fake. I put a non-profit right behind him. No question. I was loving what he was doing, that piece of Holics movement. But Mo, let's talk about how you got started. Let's boogie.
All right, so basically like most of us at our time, the guys we were associated with, a lot of us came from good households, or we had mentors in the streets that tried to show us the right way, but we decided to do what we wanted to do. At some point, I went to my little stuff on the streets, did a little time, went to college, and got my GED in prison. When I came home, I was blessed in 1994, the end of 1994, to my friend Lump took me to Alma-Lee Farrakhan, Ceasefire Don't Smoke, the Brothers and Sisters, and I was introduced to doing the work that I was doing in the community. And I did that for free for years, but at the time I started using my popularity from the streets to be a promoter. So I started doing a lot of the parties, Red Door Entertainment,
Yes, sir.
and did a lot of events. People like Mike Tyson, Monica, and all type of people came to the events. I was able to get hotels when nobody could get hotels, and do events, that were nice. They took our music and our culture to another level. And my activism started back then. I remember when the control board, like you see a lot of things going on with Don't Mute DC, but my activism started back then, even with Go-Go. I never forget when the control board came in, they took music and they took the trades out of the schools, which started the decline of black people in Washington, D.C., because that's how we learned to use our hands. Wasn't no bums in D.C. Wasn't no people who didn't know how to do for self in D.C. But they took our music and they took our trades out of our schools, which started the decline of the black nation in Washington, D.C. and throughout the country, because they started doing it everywhere. And me, Big G, and all of us, we organized the young people. And all the young people, they wouldn't let them out, so they jumped out of all the schools in D.C. from everywhere and came and joined us downtown. And we shut down the control board right there on Thomas Circle and took over 14th Street. So my activism goes back to that. And I learned how to do the work. I mean, I was blessed during that time to meet people like Stokely Carmichael. When I say meet, not taking a picture. You know how social media now, somebody sees somebody, run up to him, take a picture, flash it like they know him.
And say, my guy. My guy.
But back then, I was able to sit down and break bread with them.
Okay.
All right? Break bread with them and get some wisdom. I was able to meet people like Winnie Mandela. After the day after the Million Man March, I was right there with Al Malik and some of the other brothers. We was right there eating dinner with Farrakhan. The next day at the Omni Showroom Hotel. So those are the type of experiences I had as a man, watching the Million Man March when everybody said it wasn't going to happen, and being a young community organizer, and going out and organizing young people, and actually seeing 2 million people come when nobody said nobody was going to come. So those experiences enabled me to see that nobody can tell me what can't happen if you believe it can happen. So throughout my life, from that, and having a grandmother, mother, and my father, and people who always worked hard, like I've always had that work ethic. I had people around me like a Debbie Roundtree. She was a civil rights attorney and a criminal attorney. And she knew all the federal judges. You understand? So when I went to court, you understand what I'm saying? But that's who raised me. I used to go up 16th Street, shovel her snow, the next person snow, the next person grass, and I kept a bag at 13 years old. But I'm just saying, I was taught to hustle at a young age. So nobody got to teach me how to hustle and how to do for myself. And that's why some of us are always able to reinvent ourselves no matter what happens to us, because we were taught how to grind and not worry about what somebody else was getting, but with the understanding if you work hard, you're going to get whatever you want in life. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like been my journey, like fighting for the people. Even when I was in the jail, I was fighting against how they were treating our people at the jail. So I had people on the outside that would raise hell. My grandparents, if I tell them the guards had us locked down for 3 days straight, they're making the right calls. And my block open. You see what I'm saying? So I've always been the type of guy that advocated for my people no matter where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? And always treat people the way I wanted to be treated. But in saying that, one of the things that we all know, when you're a go-getter, we always have people in our community who can't do what you do or scared to try. So because of the Willie Lynch syndrome and the self-hatred that we are taught, we want to tear you down. Or you got other people who've been pimping your community who don't look like you, and they fear you, and they use your own people to tear you down because you about to step on their toes to take their money. So we always encounter those things, and a lot of times we tear each other down. So during my life, I had to sometimes fall down and get back up, but I never stopped. You know what I'm saying? Because I refuse to lose. And that's what I teach the young people, man. You know, can't nobody be the consistent person, somebody who don't give up. You ever been in a fight with a bully and he keep beating your ass and you keep getting back up and throwing a punch? He's like, I ain't never messed that crazy again. You know what I'm saying? So I've been in some of those wars with people, I won't call their names, but they just say, you know what, just better leave him alone because he ain't going nowhere. You can bloody his nose. You can cut his throat.
He coming back. If he breathing, he coming back, man. You know, it may not come back at you, but I'm coming back around the way again. So we just gonna have to do it all over again.
And that's just where I've been in life, man. I just study, I learn from my mistakes, and I just try to hang around good people. I tell people all the time, don't let nobody tell you who to deal with. Just find good people wherever you can find them, and work with them, and you'd be surprised where it gets you.
So that's a good start, because I have a question about what's going on in this town, right? So, what do you think are the root causes of the increase in gun violence, and what would work in this city?
So it's a lot of things, man. It's a lot of reasons why the violence is going up. One, you had generations of poverty in our community. Of children who've been through trauma in our community. And we know hurt people, right? So we got all these disparities going on, and it's widening. And you got a group of young people in our city who feel like nobody gives a damn about them, but the most important thing, they feel like they don't have nothing to lose. And when you get to the point where you feel like you have nothing to lose and you've been abandoned, you know what I'm saying, you've been neglected, you don't see the opportunities that other people see, right? And I'm gonna close with this, no accountability. Because some of the things that happen, right, should never be tolerated. I don't care what the hell you've been through. But when you can go do something crazy and then go get on social media and brag about it, and then go back to the hood after you done shot that girl in the head, after that stray bullet and shot that baby in the car, and it's okay, then we have lost our moral compass. And we can never lose our moral compass for anything, because when you lose your moral compass, and with me, some people call me this and that. Listen, I'm not condoning none of that stuff, man. Not to be cool with somebody in the streets, because I know the streets don't love me. You understand what I'm saying? I love the streets and people in the streets, but I know it don't love me because they can't even love themselves. They don't even honor the codes they went by. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got that going on, and then you have the anxiety that's going on where people really see they ain't gonna be here. Like, people know, man, we all of us been talking about it for years. I remember going to Berry Farms 20 years ago and telling people, I'm telling you, get yourself together, get out of here, because they got the plan, they're gonna move you out. They show the plan downtown. You go to Dempeg and get the 20-year plan. Oh, they tell you what's coming. They told us they was getting rid of all the public houses. It's in the plan. But nobody believes it until it happens. So now people see they're really not gonna be here, right? You got all these generations of undereducated people who can't even educate the children. So I'll give you a prime example. In some middle schools in Southeast right now, they have an 18% retention. So that means 80% of the children in that school are out here either doing nothing, or they doing something they ain't got no business doing, or they home sleep. Because the parents either not educating them, or work leaving by themselves, or they just can't understand how to help them do the work. So when you put all these things in a pot, and the last thing I say with the music, NBA YoungBoy, my chopper's undefeated. This is what our young people listening to, man. You remember when I used to protest the video games?
Yes, sir.
I wrote op-eds back in 2006 and said what was going to happen with our young people because they're being trained to be animals. We letting our young people be trained to be animals. So, yeah, that child up there in Wisconsin Avenue is not going to do it. Yeah, yes they are, because they going around shooting everything too. They just do it, mass shootings, go up, you know what I'm saying? They do a little different, right? Because they ain't mad at the people around them. They just mad, you know what I'm saying? But, or they trying to imitate something they see on the game.
Following suit.
But when you take those video games, and you take the music, and then you take social media, which rewards you now for being a damn fool.
Wow, that's a hell of a way to put it.
And we haven't given our young people the platform to get attention, not being a fool. Because that's what we used to do with Piece of Holics. We make it cool to act like you got some damn sense. We kept the girls in the office, so the dudes would come to the office one way or another. But guess what? Guess who used to do that? Guess who else used to do that? They used to do it in the 60s, the Civil Rights Movement. They kept the women around, and the women were the ones that told the guys that you cannot be around us if you retaliate. So understand the science of peace is not happening the way it used to happen. You got to understand the psyche of what make men move and what make women move. And some of our girls are just as bad as the guys now. Our sisters who normally would tell a guy, man, it ain't worth it, they hyping it up now. That didn't used to happen.
No, it didn't.
So we got all these things going on, and we just got to figure out a way how to use the things that are turning us apart, like social media. How do you take social media and reverse it, the effect of it? You know what I'm saying? It ain't going nowhere. So we got to figure out a way to utilize it to help our people.
You talking about solutions,
right?
So it's not just about the problems, and that's what I like about you. Because when you speak, you don't just speak about the problem. You come with a bed of solutions to say, hey, if we do A, B, C, D, and E. We can go down the alphabets. But if we do these things, then we can start to see some differences in the people.
Right.
But a lot of people, like you said, they just want to talk. For instance, I always hear people say this, and it burns me up when I hear people say this, Mo. We don't bring the guns we don't bring the guns across. We don't have boats. We don't bring the drugs and all that. And I say, well, you know what? You may have some truth. There's some truth to that. However, if a person, no disrespect to anyone, but if a person drop a pile of shit in your front yard, you don't go and get the pile of shit and go and try to sell it to nobody, do you?
Right.
So at the end of the day, if somebody's bringing you poison and bringing you death, and they dropping it at your door, there's no prerequisite to say you have to participate in that piece. Right. Why don't you say to them people, don't drop this in my community, go on with it.
Right.
Take it to your community.
Right.
But so I hear what they say, but we don't have to be perpetrators of the nonsense because we are far more the victims as a result of
No
it.
question about it.
There's
no question about it. We losing so many of our young women, so many young people, and then it affects the whole family, the whole village. Just think about it. Stanton Elementary in Southeast. They've had 5 young people under 12 years old who've been killed in the last 2 years. I guarantee you, 90% of those children have gotten no mental health services. So you become numb. And then once you become numb, when you're inflicting pain on other people, you can't even feel it. Right. So this is how we create the little terrorists we see in our community. Because they've been torn to pieces, and then they become numb and desensitized, and then they start inflicting pain on other people.
Right.
And we don't understand that we're not dealing with that, and that we're not holding people accountable. Because my thing is, I don't believe like people can just have a green light to do something because they've been through something. I believe that we're supposed to help people and give them chances to heal, but there still has to be a level of accountability with understanding, or people will run wild. Like young people, a lot of them don't think there's no accountability, and then the ones who want help can't get help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The ones who are trying to do what's right, let's be clear. It's a lot of love that has to turn around somebody broken to pieces. Mm-hmm. They're going to give you a brick wall at first. But when they see you don't give up on them, then they open the door and say, let's talk. I see you real, because that's too many people that came in my life and abandoned me. Yeah. Too many people that came in my life and made me promises and left me hanging. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So my thing is, don't just call the police on a young person. Try to help them first.
Right.
But then if they don't take the help, you gotta help your community. You gotta, if you can't deal with a man to man, you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure your baby can come outside. And some people got a problem with that, but I want to see y'all go and deal with a gun-toting youngin'. Because you ain't gonna do it. So the women in our community supposed to be scared to come out the house. The children in our community supposed to be scared to come out the house. Oh, Mo, that's hot. No, it's hot because y'all letting these young dudes terrorize your community, and you not saying nothing to them as long as it don't affect your money.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Only time you got a problem, but everybody else, the women, the children, the grandmothers get killed.
The people who were never supposed to be a part of that culture. Back in the day when we was coming up, it was always babies, women, the children,
and seniors,
off limits, untouchable. Don't be. Matter of fact, you take care of, you nurture that. Here and pull the trigger, and it kills a 70-year-old grandmother that comes somewhere to try to stop her child from fighting, or trying to break up the nonsense and get killed as a result of that.
Right.
And nobody say nothing. And I get it. We always talk about that, man, the no snitch rule. You know what? My theory on that is real simple, man. Snitching, and don't get it twisted, snitching is you and I got a nickel and a quarter together.
And I
get caught, and then I bring you in to give me all.
Yeah.
But it's telling when I ain't got a nickel in your quarter at all, but what you just did affects me and my family.
Right.
So I'm not snitching, brother. I'm bringing the attention to the nonsense, man, and you got to deal with that.
Let's get back to what you were saying, Mo. These dudes don't want to affect their money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Please talk on that.
Well, so when we came up, if people was doing dumb stuff, you would have the phrase, you would have the ties, and you would have all the dudes in the community who would step to and say, man, y'all messing the money up. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to allow you to have that go on in our community.
You're making it hot.
It's a certain way to hustle.
Yeah.
We don't, men honor men around here. We don't steal from each other. We don't rob from each other. There's certain things we don't do, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will let these youngers go out here and do stuff to make money, right? And then the only time they would have a problem is when it affects their money. But even there, they still don't deal with it the right way. They do little sneaky stuff to play people against each other and escalate the violence and do other things. They never deal with the problem like men used to do. You know what I'm saying? And we got to get back to the point where even if you're in the street, because a lot of people's like, well, Mo, how will you tell people in the street how to do this? Well, anywhere you got disparities and it's hard for a person to make it, you're going to have people in the streets.
Right.
Let's be clear. We don't have a level playing field in America. So you always going to have somebody in our community that's trying it another way. If the Kushniks and everybody else have a spoon fed, they trying it another way.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Just like our people can't get, Tony Lewis' father can't get pardoned, but then they come and pardon all the damn crooks.
Yeah. Right. Speak on it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, Antone can't get pardoned, but they go pardon all the damn crooks. And our people that got locked up for fucking illegal sentences, and these guys are the real crooks. So when people see that, it's hard for us to go tell a lot of dudes sometimes what you doing. They like, what you mean what I'm doing? What they doing?
Exactly.
I'm doing what they doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. The playing field ain't never been level with respect to us, man. But let me ask you this. So with your experience, you along with Jahar, you all created an organization. You know, when we were all younger,
Right.
you created an organization because you saw a need to bridge the gap with the community violence and things of that nature, and you all had Peace of Holics. Talk a little bit about how Peace of Holics came about and what happened with it and why it's no longer here today.
So, it was a lot of stuff going on. J-Rock, I was with Al Malik and I left. And I started doing parties, and then I started doing stuff. People called me in to help with some other stuff. I started doing some stuff in Southeast. It was a shooting in Ballou Senior High School.
Real J-Rock.
And then there J-Rock. And then all this stuff started happening. And every time I would go and show up on the scene or doing something, I would see this guy Jahar. So we would always do stuff. We had our little run-ins. And be honest with you, we never really got along. And it was some old timers that pulled me and him in the room and say, man, listen, y'all dudes got it. And y'all dudes care. Y'all better off working together than working against each other. So we started working together and we formed Peace of Holics. And it's so funny, I never forget it because we never did it for the money.
Right.
When you fill out your form with the IRS, they ask you how much money you think you're gonna make. And I was like 25,000. Y'all was like, no man, put those 25,000 on the form. So we put 50,000 on the form.
Yeah.
And that's what we said, thought we would make the first year. We said, okay, we make 50,000.
Right.
Man, within 2 years, we had a budget of $2.3 million. And we had 60 employees. But people didn't see the hard work of jokers working night and day. There's a few of us. But we worked so hard, people thought we had 100 employees.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
That was every damn way.
And then it went from that, like we squashed this big beef at Oak Hill. That's what really got us on. And Big G went down there with us. Like people be talking about activism and go-go. They don't know some people been doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why I messed with G. He was doing it when it wasn't cool.
Right.
And he was doing it whether we had money for him or not. He cared.
Right.
But he remembered we helped get him off the streets though. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, we started doing the work, and then we started understanding what was going on because we was working with civil rights leaders. So we applied all that knowledge from the civil rights movement to the peace movement.
Right.
And we were able to get the women. Like we would go to neighborhoods and squash to work on the beefs. And a lot of times, dude, man, I ain't with that hot shit. I ain't with that peace shit.
Yeah.
So we would get the girls. Same thing they did in the civil rights movement.
Yep.
Right.
Then when the guys see the girls getting help and moving forward, they go, why y'all ain't helping us?
Yep.
So then sometimes that's how we would have to start. Sometimes we couldn't start with the guys.
Okay.
So, you know, and then we got a reputation of really helping people. So then our name superseded anything. So we went to the neighborhood with so many dudes that would call, oh, that's my man. He got you. He went to court for me.
Right.
And, you know, he held me accountable. But look, he got me a job when I got out. He did see that. We sent 160 children to college. We broke 40 truces, real truces. Right. So we were doing it. And then what happened was we got caught up in the politics. Adrian Fenty was running for mayor. And, you know, I was real cool with Adrian. It was crazy, though. We became cool because I didn't even know me and him went to school together, Alice Deal. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna get to that. This is gonna make y'all laugh. But everybody knew me and my man Lump because we always got called to the office at the school, Alex Deal, right? So one day, I had got Adrian to remodel Furby Hope.
Okay.
And we doing a walkthrough for the Washington Post when he running. And, you know, I'd never forget, I ain't no real ball player. I hit a half-court shot. Washington Post took a picture of me. I'm like, yeah! They redid the whole joint, remodeled. We got outside, we walked to the car, and this was this reporter named Nikita Stewart. She couldn't stand Adrian because one of my friends, Sinclair called her Bubble, Aunt your mama or something. Sinclair didn't know what to do with his mouth at the time. But anyway, she really had out for Adrian.
Yeah.
So Adrian said, "Oh, Ron? Oh, that's my friend, man. We went to school together." We went to school together.
Like,
I don't even know.
okay.
So once he said that, I became a crony.
Oh, wow.
That was my new tagline.
Oh.
Fenty crony. Not all the work I did in the
Not the work you
community.
did.
Piece of Hall was getting money because Adrian Fenty and Ronald Moten went to school. And they used that, and they loved me with other people who they were tagging with, good brothers, like Omar Kareem, good Muslim brother, who was one of only 2 African Americans at the time with a double degree in engineering and law.
Yeah.
But what's happened and with our people, when you get guys that's qualified, he was a developer, and ended up winning the lawsuit against the city because Jim Graham took a big deal from him on Georgia Avenue illegally, right? Because he was associated with Adrian Fenty. If this guy wasn't qualified, who the hell qualified to be a developer as a black man?
Wow.
So what happened is, black people, I never forget it, so I had a meeting, it was me, Jahar, and the sister, we met with Vince Gray. And I went in that meeting, I told Vince Gray, I said, listen, man, let's squash this beef with you and Adrian. I said, black people in D.C., it will never be the same for them again if you two keep beefing. Mm-hmm. He told me that we just want to know what side you on. 2 weeks later, I said, I'm on the side who's right. When you right, I'm with you. When he's right, I'm with him.
So at the time, Vince Gray was city council for Ward 7.
Before he ran for mayor.
Right. Okay.
2 weeks later, Yvette Alexander dropped a letter asking for investigation of Piece of Hall, saying that we were using our money to do campaigns. None of that stuff ever improved. But what happens in politics, all they gotta do is accuse you of something, to slow you down to start an investigation. Right. Then you gotta start spending money. And it went from one thing to the next. And I'll never forget this, my man Marion Bird. Love this dude, man, because he loved black people. Mm-hmm. And he told them, leave Mo and them alone. I know me and Mo ain't on the right side right now, but they do too much for our children. Do not fuck with them.
Right.
And I never forget this, we was walking in the blue, me and Marion Bird, you know, he got the little cool old walk, his big dog on, walking in the building. And he said, Mo, we're gonna kick y'all ass. I said, what are you talking about, Marion Bird? 50 got $4 million in the bank. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. So he said, we're gonna stab him in the back so many times. By the time he get to the finish line, he gonna be bleeding to death.
Whoa.
And every time you turn on the news, it was a different story about 50, right? Boom, 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 boom. And that's how he lost. So I was right in the middle of all that, man. So they looked at Piece of Hall because we had the whole city at the time, like young people, older people, because we did so much. They thought we were going to use our relationship with the community to help Adrian get in. So they didn't hate us. It was just like we were collateral damage.
Right.
They like we gotta take care of them to make sure he don't get back in here, because it was a clash with the old school and the new school in DC, where a lot of people felt like Adrian was taking money off their plate, right? And then there was also a thing with the education, and a lot of the old women and stuff had a problem with that. And it was just crazy. But I mean, for Adrian, he didn't care. He was one of the type of people like, I'm gonna do whatever I can do with these 4 years, and I can live with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's how you gotta be. I was just talking to one of my Republican friends, and I was just telling them, you know, I'm mad at one of the people over there because he ain't standing up to what he see going on right now as a man. Because, you know, there's some good people over in the Republican Party. I tell people all the time, I wouldn't have the property on MLK with my youngins if it wasn't a Republican, Jimmy Kemp. Jack Kemp was his father, who did a lot for black people, who gave us over $40,000 over 4 years to help us with our rent.
So yeah, because we was giving, you know, Six and I talk about it, because we know in terms of your political views, I think you were a Democrat at one point, you know, like most of us, and then you know you vacillated over to the Republican side. We want to hit on that piece because that's important. But I want to play something for you.
Okay.
And tell me what you think of this.
Okay. Oh, the bloody gloves.
When I first come here today with these gloves on my hands to symbolize the blood that I believe that people in this building have on their hands, because they have not listened to the parents such as Miss Jeffries, to the organizations who've come down here and advocated to stop this madness in our community. I'm here to give a testimony because I have come to the sad conclusion that some of the council members and some of the administration simply don't care about our children. It is only about the politics of what sounds right, but not what is really in the best interest of our youth and citizens.
Okay, now that was in April of 2010, right after that mass killing that occurred on South Capitol Street, where Miss Jeffries lost her granddaughter. Her daughter. I'm sorry, her daughter. And you all galvanized and came around and said, "Hey, we got to come together with this piece." And for those that can't see it, if you go and Google this piece, is Ron Moten lets DC council members know some had blood on their hands, and he's sitting here with some white gloves on them, but they got red on the palm to symbolize that these people got blood on their hands. But this was the approach that you used in terms of your activism to bring awareness to the things that was going on, and you did it unapologetically. And it takes a different kind of being to go before the council and say, look, I know you all got a lot of power. And if I'm trying to push stuff for my programs, I need this done, I need that done, I'm gonna have to go through you all. But I need to hold you all accountable at some point in time. So the question that I have for you before we get to the Republican piece is, today, if you had to sit before today's council with the level of violence that has increased, and in my opinion, a lot of the violence increased. We had violence going on, but there was some control of it. But then the level of violence increased, man. Right now, especially after Initiative 71 came into place.
Oh,
but
man.
But anyway,
want to talk about that?
I
wrote an op-ed about that too, but go ahead.
Okay, so the question is, what are they doing? What are your thoughts about this council now with the same circumstances?
So I think we have a council that has moved to the point where they do support the work that needs to be done again. But what people have to understand, we went 10 years without funding the work of working in the community. And things have changed a lot in 10 years. I'll give you a prime example. One time you didn't need funding to go help people. You would take the money out your pocket to go help people in your community. But if you can barely afford to live in the city, how the hell are you gonna take money off your table and help somebody else's children? So a lot of people who would just help for general purposes, without even having an organization, they're not helping no more because they barely making it. So it's like a domino effect of what's going on. I don't think all the council members and everybody understand like how that affects what's going on in our community. Also, I think that one of the reasons why I became a Republican is I think a lot of the super liberals, not the ones in the middle, they come and think for us but don't understand us. Like I never supported that marijuana bill.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, to each his own. Somebody want to smoke marijuana, smoke it. I don't care. But to make it legal without understanding the devastation that it would have on our young people who confused, don't even understand the law. More people got locked up after that bill than before it was passed. Most people don't know that. More people got locked up for marijuana after the bill passed than before it was passed. But who got rich off of it? Who made the money off of it? Not us, right? So then our young people get on drugs at a young age. Marijuana is very expensive. So once they get hooked to it, what they gonna do? They're gonna steal, rob, whatever they got to do to get it, right? And I wrote an op-ed in the Washington Times talking about this because I went to David Grosso's meeting in Ward 8 to talk about it and let them know my objection to it, right? Now, my thing was, let's deal with what's going on as far as the injustice in the justice system. Let's address the institutionalized racism versus just doing something quick to help somebody else make some money. A lot of people didn't hear me. A lot of people still won't hear me because they smoke weed. I ain't got a problem with you smoking weed. If you want to smoke all day and smell like a bag or whatever, go ahead. But just know that it's affecting our young people. Right? Then you work in the programs with them, and then you tell them they can't have a dirty urine. They're like, how is legal and I can't have a dirty urine? It's like you trying to get through a brick wall now and tell a young person that he can't get in a program because it's funded by the feds, and the feds program, the feds require DC to test people to get the money.
Right.
So you got all these roadblocks set up and all these tricks with our young people that are going on. So all these things are happening at one time. Then you got the rap music. Our young people, like when we came up, we had our own style, we had our own clothes, we had our own shoes, all the stuff we did. Now a lot of our young people trying to be like people in Chicago and other places, right? So a lot of the stuff you see is young people beefing over, you dissed me on a song, you did this, you did that. This stuff wasn't going on when we came up. You know what I'm saying? So all these things that are going on, they don't understand it when they legislate, right? And some people would rather just get the money from them than to tell them, look, man, I love you and I appreciate what you're doing because you are giving to the community. Yeah. But let's do this right because there's a few things y'all ain't got right.
Right.
You know, another example, police. Look, I'm for my community, but I'm not stupid. I can't be the police.
Right.
Right? Why the hell would you pass a bill that stops 200 black people from getting a career, 200 black people who will have some empathy for you, 200 black people who will be culturally competent, right, from getting a job to police your community, when since 1997, when Chief Ramsey changed the law and made you have a degree to be a police, and we started bringing people from Pennsylvania, from West Virginia, from Hagerstown, all the places where them people who got them masks on, or them people who was down in the building the other day, this is where they come from. And if you recall a few years ago, they had those DC police officers who had those Nazi tattoos and shirts and stuff on, right? That's who made it inside the department because of that. And then you're gonna stop us from bringing 200 black people in our community in the police department who understand the community, who understand what your son, your daughter, your mother going through? So it's a combination of things with this council. They mean well, some of them, most of them, but some of the decisions they make is off of following waves. It's like the blind lead the blind. You have a protest outside and everybody's saying one thing, you don't have the guts enough to say, okay, let me do an assessment of this. Let's find out, what we're gonna do to make it work. You just go with the wave without, you know what I'm saying? So that's my only problem. I think that they really mean well. I think they're good people, most of them. But I just think a lot of times we don't hold people accountable and challenge them when we see something wrong. And to me, that ain't even their fault. That's our fault. Because we not being the soldiers and soldierettes we should be to let somebody know when they wrong. And you can't lose your moral compass just to get money. Right. Like when I was getting that money from the Republicans, not one time did you hear me talk bad about another black person in politics for a Republican. Right. Never. And most of the time I voted for Democrats. But from a theological standpoint, I'm not nobody to stand with my hand out. I'm not nobody who say that, I just want you to take care of me. I just want you to give me an opportunity. Right. When we got those buildings, they didn't do nothing different from me and my youngins that they didn't do for all these developers that they gave a piece of property to for $1. The guy the white guy, who I heard is a good guy, who they gave all that property in Marvin Gaye Park for $1. So when you do your investigation, you learn your history, and you see what other people get, then we can talk about equity. That's the other thing with violence. If you don't give people equity, you're going to see violence. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So my thing is, I appreciate this council. People like Robert White, Kenya McDuffie, you know what I'm saying? I went to Murray Shea and talked to her. She looked out. Even Melissa Silver, me and her didn't get along. I went and talked to her face to face. And she was talking about piece of Holics. And what I did was, I went and got all our old reports. I said, sis, let me explain something to you. Almost everybody out here doing the work learned it from me. Almost everybody out here was a part of the piece of Holics. Almost everybody who y'all giving money to. So if you praising them, you praising me. So I showed her the reports. We just get big, thick reports, but they didn't do paperwork. Big, thick reports, like document everything. And I said, you go find somebody who did this much work. Go find it. And when she saw this, respectfully, she said, okay. And I respect her for that. You know what I'm saying? Right. But we gotta challenge each other. And one thing I learned, you said, would I do it all over again? I learned you can curse somebody out behind the scenes. You ain't gotta do it publicly.
Right.
You know, that can be, it can come in that though.
Yeah.
But that's the last result.
That's the last result.
Right.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I found a new van. I just go get my float and fucking shut everything down. So I ain't even got to say nothing. I did the band start. Fuck it.
So,
You know what I'm saying?
so we as a city with so many community people working and helping on the higher needs and most vulnerable residents, right? How can we get all of those people to work together collaboratively?
So I would say this, man. You're never gonna get everybody to work together. We got some real toxic people in our community. What I tell people is just find good people and work with them, and everybody else will follow. Because if you just work hard and work with a core of good people, you're gonna come up with the blueprint. Once you get the blueprint, like with Piece of Holics, I remember we started. They not gonna get no ex-con, nothing. We started working free in the schools. We was working free at Oak Hill, and we got the blueprint together. Then we got funded, and then other men and women started believing they could do the same thing. That's the way it's supposed to be. But everybody was doubting us before then. When I started working with Check It, oh, Mo working with the faggies. Oh, that nigga gay. They would say all type of stuff about me, right? Everything, right? And I was just laughing. I said, you know what? I got a pool in my backyard. Guess who helped me get at a gay man? You know what I'm saying? I got Debbie Roundtree, one of the most prominent lawyers in the city. I used to sleep in her house every day. She was a gay woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, some of the best people in my life been gay. They never tried to impose it on me. Right. You know, so I don't care, as long as you don't impose it, I don't give you, whatever you want to do is what you want to do, right? So when these young people came to me and asked me for help, and they said, I just help all the straight children, my God-given natural born empathy and caring heart that I had made me do the right thing. And I stuck with it. And a couple of them stuck with it. And now I took young people who were terrorizing Gallery Place, the leader, right?
Yeah.
E-Ball, and now their names on fucking deed on MLK Avenue, owning $2 million worth of property. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is, I learned that can happen from Al Malik because Marion Barry did the same thing for him back in 1997 when he gave us the funding to own buildings on 14th Street, whereas the only black people to own property right by Highlands on 14th and Buchanan, 14th and Crittenden. Marion Barry did. So my thing is, that's why I just say, like, I try to tell young people, like, there's some young people I try to talk to and tell something, but they know everything. Sometimes, man, you got to absorb that wisdom from an old head, dog, because they can show you how to get something, you know what I'm saying, do something while you still got an opportunity. But sometimes you try to sit down and you try to tell somebody something, and they talk so much, they know everything, and you don't even get a chance to, you know what I'm saying, give them what they need, you know, or they give you what you need. Because I learn from young people. I don't know everything. That's what keep me in the game, understanding my wisdom and understanding their wisdom and combining it together and utilize that to uplift myself and my people.
So what's going on with the document for the documentary for the Check It?
I mean, so the documentary for the Check It been all over the world. We've been to Amsterdam, Canada, I mean, everywhere. It's been all over the world. It did well. I'm working on a book right now with Check It. That's gonna come out after my book. I got a book that's probably gonna come out this spring called Don't Mute Mo. And basically it's 15 op-eds I've written over the last 10 years. They've been in the Washington Post, Washington Times, Washington Informer, and then there's another writer who's collaborating with me to go over those op-eds and how they relevant today. You know, it's about activism, it's about politics, it's about policy, it's about everything, but it's just talking about the op-eds that I wrote, you know, and how it's relevant. So basically just telling people, you know, the vision of an urban scholar, you know.
So how do you feel when you see all these people that work under you now having these programs, but we still got all this stuff going on? Because before you answer, because I recall a kid shot someone. Y'all was on the scene like Johnny on the spot. We don't have this these days because right now it's like You don't find out about the kid until the kid is dead or he went to jail. Now the information come out. When you guys had it, y'all was on the scene before the police. Y'all helped them. Y'all can walk out to hand them off. So to answer that question, how does it feel to see those type of people that work under you to have these programs, but now the violence has skyrocketed?
So like I said, there's a lot of reasons why the violence is skyrocketing. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the circumstances, like COVID. You know what I'm saying? You put these children in one neighborhood, they can't go nowhere, they ain't got no football, they ain't got this, they ain't got that. So that has a lot to do with it. Well, it was still going up before COVID, but still, that even escalated even more. But what I tell people, one of the things that we did that really stopped violence, it wasn't all the beasts we squashed. It was all the beasts we prevented. So it was all the times a young person called us and gave us some information that something was about to happen before it happened. That's what made us great. So that comes from relationships, and that comes from trust, and that comes from putting their work in. I think it's a lot of people who doing it, but it's not enough people doing it. And then the other thing I think that happened was that when we had Piece of Holics, I had 60 employees. There was probably only 4 organizations around the city doing the work, but they had a lot of employees. What happened was a lot of people, everybody think they can do the work now. They think it's simple. Yeah. Somebody come home from jail, oh man, I can do that, I know everybody. So now you got 30 groups doing the work. So you're trying to control 30 groups. You're trying to get 30 different groups to work together. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not the same continuity as you had when you had 3 or 4 groups.
And the funding is different. They develop and build one pot of funding and say we're going to do this for prevention or intervention.
All for one neighborhood.
For one neighborhood, and you got 10, 15 people.
See, with me, I was a different monster. So I was the COO, but I was in the street like I was an employee. Right. So my guys can run shit on me. Right. I'll give you a prime example. It was one guy we had working for us, and he was over Lincoln Heights. And a police officer called us. Once again, I said, I had them relationships. Mm-hmm. Hey, Ron, one of your guys over here outside with a Piece of Holics badge on, and he out here doing something like he ain't supposed to do. So I pull up. We sitting in the car. I think it was me and Jahar. We sitting in the car watching him. Just sitting there watching this damn fool, right? So a young dude go over and say, I need a pack. He give him the pack, he goes, sir, to do that. I said, man, get my motherfucking badge. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's how much we were on the ground, the relationships we had. Mm-hmm. And I would work night and day. I was the press guy. I was the intervention guy. I was going to see the families. I was raising hell down the council. Yeah. So I knew if a dude was doing the work or not. Right. So you wasn't going to come and tell me something you was doing you wasn't. Right? And we had this philosophy, this is not a job, it's a ministry. And if a young person call you at 2 o'clock in the morning, you better answer the phone or you don't have a job. Yeah. Because our young people at the time, they weren't having a lot of stuff during the daytime. Most of their stuff was happening during the nighttime. Yeah. But now you got young people out here on Percocets and all these hard drugs. It wasn't happening like that when we was doing the work. Yeah. They on all these hard drugs now, man, and they strung out, man, and they lost, bro. I mean, it's very like, it's hard on you when you see this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for years we were telling people they really need to get some real drug treatment programs for our young people. It still hasn't happened the way it needs to happen. And it's not an easy task, but I just feel like those are the things that as a city we can do better. But on the flip side, we don't hold each other accountable like that. So the city, they give you a lot of money and then they don't get no results. And then you got excuse after excuse after excuse. Man, I mean, eventually the excuses run out. Yeah. So, like I said, I think of some people doing some good work, but I think you always got to go back and say, what am I not doing right? And I'm going to close with this. There was some things we did with Piece of Holics that the people who work for us didn't know was going on. And I'm going to leave it there. And it was getting the job done. Because you had to know people over here, you had to know people over there. You had to, some people didn't like me, but they liked him. Mm-hmm. So they had to work with him. And I mean, it was a lot of things that was happening that you wouldn't even know what's going on or how to do it. But a lot of people think they had the whole science, but I don't think they had the whole science. There was a lot of science to what we did. And a lot of people, you try to tell them how to do things, and they know everything. Once again, people know everything. So, with me, if somebody asks me something, I teach them, I tell them. But even with doing the event, it's a science of doing events to make sure they're safe.
Right.
Like, it's a lot of things that you have to do when you're doing an event in the community to protect your event, your people, and everything. And you got to take proper protocols.
Yeah, yeah. Because you guys did the Don't Mute DC joint.
Yeah.
I mean, Don't Mute Go-Go. And bought droves of people.
Well, so I did a lot of events. I did the Juneteenth, I did the hospital. So it's two things. So you got Mochella and you got Don't Mute.
Okay.
Don't Mute started, which led to Mochella.
Right.
With our team, we try to center around issues.
Okay.
So with me, if I'm in the street normally for an issue, unless I'm celebrating somewhere, but like UMC, they took $25 million out of the hospital. We went there and did a protest, got the $25 million put back in the hospital budget. All right, Banneker High School, they tried to defund Banneker High School. We fought to get. You see, so my thing is, we do things to try to get policy enacted to help our people. You see what I'm saying? And even with the Mochella, when that was happening, I went to the young brother Yachty, and I explained to them, his team, y'all gotta have the police out here. Mm-hmm. Fuck that. I don't fuck with the police shit. If you bring in thousands of people to 14th and U, and you got all these neighborhoods up here beefing, police.
Better have them.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I went and arranged for the police to come.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I love my people, but also I know I love him. I love all them youngers that's taking the street, but sometimes we can't let youngers destroy themselves.
Right.
And if one thing would have happened, it would have messed the whole movement up, because they would have used that against us.
Yeah.
Not just him, but us too.
Right.
So my thing is, I just met with Yachty the other day. I was like, bro, we gotta work together. And he's like, we gotta work,
Right.
It's about us, ain't about no competition. It's about us working together to uplift each other. And whatever issues we can align on, we align on to uplift our people. You know what I'm saying? And the young people need that, and the old heads need that, because look, let me explain something to you. Most of the stuff I learned, I had to learn the hard way, even with doing this work. I had to bump my head and learn. Our young people should have to learn the hard way. We should be able to tell them our mistakes and how they can do. You know what I'm saying? Well, we don't want all them people in one place. Well, you go find a place then. And my thing is, we want to be black, and we want to say Black Lives Matter until it's time for them to come to our community.
That's incredible, man. Because on that piece when you were saying that, in my agency, people coming home, probation, parole, and all that, it was over like 5,000 parolees, probations, and people that was on supervision in between Ward 6, 7, and 8 in that area. But they was all coming over South Capitol Street and Good Hope Road. Mm-hmm. We was making an attempt to put a building right there by the shrimp boat. Mm-hmm. The community nixed it. We was like, well, we're trying to put the building. We're gonna build a building. We're trying to put it there so that the people from out Kenilworth and all the way on this side don't have to go all the way over to South Capitol Street or to Good Hope Road, because they beefing so hard. You bringing people from the northeast side over to the southeast side for supervision. Right. And we was like, well, let's put something in the middle. They didn't want that, and they nixed it, man. And we like, okay, so now when these beefs start going and they coming from the community, or you got them going up to Bury Farms and all that, everybody in the southeast had a hell of got an advantage over people that's coming from the northeast side.
You bring a great point too. When you was asking about the beef six, one of the things that happened that wasn't happening when we were doing the work. So when they started closing down all these public housing complexes, they started mixing all these neighborhoods together, and a lot of these neighborhoods was beefing with each other. Mm-hmm. Or you bring a guy in your community and he see how he can play y'all against each other to take over your community. Mm-hmm. Same things the Jamaicans did when they came to DC, went to Paradise, played dudes against each other, all that type of stuff like that, right? So that's another thing that happened. Like, you can't close down a community and then send people in other communities where they have problems at, or no relationships, don't think it ain't gonna be no problems. So gentrification has had a devastating effect on the violence in our community. So that's a whole nother issue that I meant to say. It's been very devastating. And And then a lot of the beefs, you know, when they closed down the neighborhood schools, just like in Chicago, they closed down the neighborhood schools and then people had to start going to other people's neighborhoods where they had beefs with. That helped the uptake of violence. So when a conflict starts, it might start 10 years ago, but it escalates over time and it comes back and forth. So the more beefs you create, the more trauma and drama you got to deal with.
Do you truly think this is fixable in the city?
I think anything is fixable if people are committed to it. I think anything is fixable if we get the mosques and the churches involved, if we get the guys from the streets involved, if we make sure young people really have the opportunities that they need, and if we have accountability.
So
Like it's a mixture of everything. You gotta have you know, one of the other problems we gotta remember, when we came up, it didn't matter if your father was a nigga, you had a village. There ain't no village name. Crack killed that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So these youngers don't have a village. They out here on their own a lot of times. They don't have that solid foundation at home, where in impoverished areas in Washington, D.C., 91% of the 15 to 17-year-olds live in single-parent household, and most of the time, they father they don't have a relationship with, or somebody keeping the father from having a relationship.
Right.
We don't talk about that, but that's a whole nother issue.
A whole nother,
You know what I'm saying? Or they poison the child and try to keep the father out. You know, and blame the father for everything. So, you know, it's a lot of things that happen. So all these things can be addressed systematically. We can't keep on doing knee-jerk stuff. We have to address it from approach where we do assessment, come up with a plan, stick with the plan, and attack it like it's cancer.
Right.
It can't keep on being, okay, this year I'm doing this year I'm doing that, this year I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We come up with these buzzwords. One day it's the fatherhood initiative. The next day it's the sisterhood initiative. The next day it's a returned citizen. Nothing lasts long enough for it to make a difference.
For the action.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you for a final question for me is who, you know, we always talk about succession planning and leaving a legacy. In terms of succession planning and leaving a legacy, who are you preparing at this moment to be able to take over when Ron Moten decides to give this piece up, or we get older to the degree where we can't move like we used to move? Who are you preparing?
So I tell you this, I got one young sister who's thorough, who I'm preparing.
Okay.
I think sisters are just as powerful as brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I have children.
Yeah.
I got some soldiers and some soldierettes. One thing I did, but you know, I put some seeds out here. Now.
Yeah.
You know, but thank God I got some good seeds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And I'm blessed that I got some good seeds.
Yeah.
So I think I got a good hand to play with. You know what I'm saying? Along with people that I breathed into who already doing great things out here. I mean, to me, my mission is accomplished because my legacy will never die because there's enough people who I've taught and who take the things that I've taught them and they're doing some great things.
Exactly.
So I feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do, but I'm building something like a legacy down where I leave my children something. That's what I'm on now, building something, and that's where my move is at now. It's not so much just dealing with violence. It's about how do we fight to make sure our children have equity? How do we fight to make sure our children, even though DC is one of the highest places in the world to live, I want to take what we're doing in Southeast and make it a model and show the city that you don't have to just invest in developers, you can invest in the people and get the same thing. That's why it's important to come and support Checker Enterprises. Because I'm building something that everybody, your son should be able to buy a building. You know what I'm saying? The city should support him with all he's doing. Because guess what? He pulls other people up with him. So why wouldn't you invest in him if we invest in developers? Right. If we invest in all these people who are not from our city. Right. And when we come together and we show what can be done when they invest in us, we can demand that they invest in other people. And that's why I'm at. I just want to create more blue sky constructions. You know, people who always giving back to the community. Right. You know, getting a ton of contracts, giving away a ton of money to their community. Yeah. That's why it's important to make sure we get equity in the hands of people who've been through something because they know what the next person going through and they get back and they pull the next person up. So that's why I'm at. Like, how do we ensure that people in our community get more than a cracker? You know, and I ain't talking about a white cracker, I'm talking about a cracker, like a crumb. Right. We need more than a crumb. We need a hand up, not a hand out. Right. And that's what I want to see my people get. And by the way, I was a Republican. I'm changing my damn. I'm
going independent.
I'm going independent because I feel like this.
I feel you.
There's some good things in the Democratic Party, which I've always said. There's some good things in the Republican Party. But our people are fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. How the hell do we go on Ice Cube when Ice Cube say we got to have an agenda? Ice Cube from the streets.
Right.
So you take the agenda to this person, you take the agenda to that person. Mm-hmm. And whoever said they're going to do what you need them to do. Yep. And if you're independent, you're not obligated to nobody. You're obligated to whoever serves your interests.
Exactly.
And that's the way I want our people to think.
Yep.
Because, I've been in the White House 4 times since Trump been there. A lot of people say, what you going in there for? Fight for my people? You know what I'm saying? But if I ain't at the table, I've been in there several times. Van Jones at the table, all these people at the table, and we in there talking about the Second Step Act. A friend of mine was the highest ranking black official in there. He was the one that helped draft the legislation that got a lot of brothers out of jail. Mm-hmm. And I was in his ear. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was in the White House. Yeah. But if I would have took the attitude, F them, I would have been there trying to push legislation to help my brothers. I'd rather have me at the table than some damn fool at the table like Armstrong Williams, who is a straight coon. You understand what I'm saying?
I feel you.
You feel me? You gotta be at the table, damn fools.
You gotta sit there.
You know, and my thing is, Democrats, they've helped me. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say they didn't help me. But they're not always right either. Right. And what's happened in our community, we let people bring us into this thinking that you either on this side or you on this side. The problem is, neither side has a middle now. Everybody far left or far right. The further you go, the crazier they get. Yeah. On either side. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need to be in the middle. Yeah. You need to study people's policies. You need to understand how do those policies affect you. If you're a businessman, how does somebody taking all your money help you? And if I'm a businessman, you can't tell me who to give my money to. If I get up and I decided to go to school every day and work hard, if I decided to stay up late at night and grind and sell t-shirts while you was asleep or you was getting high, how can you tell me who I give my money to?
Right. I feel you.
I work hard, I sacrifice. So if we telling our children to work hard, you play hard, why can't they play hard after they work hard? They did all the sacrifice. Yep. You're not gonna make me feel bad because I work harder than the next person. Right. That's not a crime. But we give people in our community that mentality, and that's what helped create that Willie Lynch syndrome, that crab in the barrel syndrome, because we think because a person work hard and do well, there's something wrong with it. We make that a sin. That's not a sin. When Madness was doing well, when All Days was doing well, when Shooters was doing well, guess what them dudes did? Somebody died in the community, guess what they did? They was the ones that was paying for the funeral. We had to go to the government.
Right.
Hobo. All these guys sponsored our community. That's what black wealth does. Yep. We take care of our own, just like our Jewish brothers and sisters take care of their own, just like our Asian brothers and sisters take care of their own. But we criminalize it when it's a black person trying to build wealth. Don't fall into that trap. We fall into that trap.
Science.
You understand what I'm saying? So these are the things of why I can't get locked in. But the reason why I'm not Republican, because a lot of my Republican friends that had some power who I talked to, I won't say their names, I asked them to speak up. Your voice means something. People need to hear your voice. They ain't speak up. So when you lose your moral compass, which means you can't speak up when you see somebody wrong, even if it's going to cost you something, don't come talking all that Christian shit to me. Don't come talking all how God and all that stuff. You know, Republicans always talking that Christian stuff. Right. Don't tell me how Christian you are if you can't be a Christian. You feel what I'm saying? So I can't do that no more. I gotta be in the middle. I can't be a Democrat. Yeah. Because I just don't believe, like if you look at DC, all the policies and how all our people getting pushed out, how everybody was failed and now they gone. How for years they let the seniors, the tax and revenue office take all our senior houses, robbed them. They robbed them. All our seniors, they robbed them all their property in D.C. Everybody know about it. You let that happen, but you talking about Trump? I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, the sad part is, man, we're going to have to get you back in this jump, man, because, like I said, sometimes an hour won't do. We just need to do a forum, and do a men's, we're going to work on that too, do a men's corner forum where we can just invite people such as yourself and others, who are more alike than different, where we can have these type of conversations, man, and really get our brothers really on the same path.
We need straight shooters, man. We need people who can disagree. Because I don't want everybody around me disagreeing, because people who don't agree with me keep me sharp.
Right.
Because if I'm wrong, I'm going to see I'm wrong.
Right.
I want you to tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm not right all the time.
Yeah.
But if we all trying to uplift each other and the criticism coming from the heart, it's only going to elevate us. When the criticism trying to tear you down, that's when it's bad.
Right.
But if we listening to each other and we telling each other we different and we feed and bouncing off each other, that's what makes the diamond. That's what makes the diamond.
Real talk.
That's the type of pressure you want. You don't want the type of pressure that's negative that take that rock, that piece of coal, and make dust versus making a diamond. The dust we seeing, the hatred and everything we seeing, is making the type of dust that we burn in the ground every day, 6 feet under. But if the criticism was the type of criticism, right, there was like this love, it would be the type of diamond, the type of pressure that makes the diamonds. And that's what we need in our community, man.
Amen.
So look, I gotta ask you this, because you said you wasn't doing no more. Why won't you run for office anymore?
First of all, I'm gonna be honest with you, a black man can't make money in office, he can't help his people. You get in office and you try to help your people, they cronies, or you doing this, you doing that. I think I'm a better asset to my people on the outside. Maybe if I get 60 years old and I accomplish all the things I need to accomplish from a wealth standpoint, then I'll go back and run for office. But I'm 51 and I'm catching up, because I spent 25 years of my life worrying about people more than I worried about myself. So I didn't build no wealth or nothing to leave my children. So I'll be damned if I'm gonna leave this world like a lot of. I used to go down to Alabama and be with Bevel, Amelia Bolton Robinson, Annie Lee Cooper, Reverend Boone, Reverend. He was the soldiers of Martin Luther King. All of them died broke, and people let them die broke. And they didn't give a damn about all these sacrifices. So my thing is, I'm not dying broke and don't leave my children enough. I don't care what nobody say. I put my work in. So I got to make sure over the next 10 years, I'm leaving a legacy that's attached to something that I'm leaving my children. You feel what I'm saying? So you can't do that in office unless you so.
Hey, man, with that said, man. With that said, man.
We gotta get you back on,
Oh, we gotta get you back on, yeah. So we'd like to thank
bro.
you all again for sharing with us, man. Again, we'd like to thank Ron Moten for coming on and sharing the spotlight with us, man, here at the Men's Corner. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in to another edition of the Men's Corner. Hey, we're going to keep bringing it to you as much as we can and bringing the real to you. Again, it's where men talk real, relevant emotions about life here at the Men's Corner. And always remember, from my main op scrapper there, my host, Six, your co-host, Faheem, and from Ron Moten, y'all go in peace, man. We love you.
Peace out.